So I'll load up a pre-defined set of stops. We'll use SM test. Select. So there is the chart pre-populated with 8 stops in it. And here you can see this is simulating a situation where we have a spool with stops of 25, 40, 75, 150 feet, and so forth. And what I'll do then is act as if I'm going to make full spools where the desired length is 50 feet. So what will happen is we'll have some short spools of 25 foot, and then another 15 feet later to 40, and then 35 to 70 to get to 75 feet. So those will all be too short. They won't reach the desired length. But from 75 to 150 feet, we will fit a 50-footer in there and then continue on. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to close this. Okay, then getting back to the rest of these buttons. When you load a new supply spool onto the machine, you'll press the new payout button, which is what we'll do in this case, because we're really starting from scratch. And it prompts you as to whether you want to keep the current diameter of that spool in there, or if you have something different that you're loading up, you can change it right now. Here I'll say yes. You'll see a keypad comes up. You can enter a number in there to change it to whatever you want. I'm going to cancel and keep what we had. I'm going to press new payout again and say, do you want to enter a different diameter? No. Okay. So having done that, the machine goes into a or tensioning setup mode, where it's just saying it's ready to wind. And I guess looking at the rest of this, if we're already in the middle of our winding, you'll be using the new take-up button, and I'll describe that more in a few moments. If you want to pause, you can press the resume button. Initialize flange is what you would press to just make sure that your take-up spool isn't at the right flange position. Because if you remember in the recipe, you entered back or front flange. But we also had it moved there manually at the beginning. You'll see next stop in a few moments as well, spool done. We also have our information fields below that, just listing the recipe name, the direction we're winding, and so forth. Okay. One thing to point out is that the target length is available at any time for the operator, so they can press this. And as I said before, we're going to simulate winding 50-foot spool, so I'll enter 50 feet in there. And that is our new value. And the blue information fields are real-time updates, so you'll be seeing those numbers change as we wind along. Any comments are comments that would be entered by the administrator when they're doing their entering their stops. So in other words, if I could have entered some comments in there. I'm not going to back up at this point. Okay. So I'm ready to wind. I'll press wind. And the first thing the machine does is establish the desired tension. And it'll do that before it actually starts. And then once the tension is there, which in this case is 40 grams, we start winding. Okay, so right off the bat here, we'll take a look at our real-time updates. You can see our current speed is 58 feet. It just slowed down. Tension is about 40 grams, and the payout has fed out 24 feet at the moment, and the take-up has taken it all up. And for the first stop, those numbers will be the same as they are right now, and this is the first stop. And our desired position was 25 feet, which we've come to within 52 thousandths, at least according to this readout. Okay. So in this situation, you might want to lower your clamps may only need the lower one. I put them both down. You may cut your material, pull off your current spool, load another empty one on, take your new end that you cut, pull it through and attach it onto your new spool, and you'd be ready to go to the next stop. So what you would do is press next stop, and our message window is telling us that it's stop number 2, which is at the 40-foot position. Okay, and we also need to tell it that we have a new take-up on the machine. So, and that's when we press this button here. Okay, so the indicator tells us that. Okay, so if you notice also when we pressed new take-up, it reset the take-up length to 0. And the new position, if you remember all the stop positions, the next stop was at 40 feet. So we already have 25 feet paid out. We only need approximately 15 feet more to reach 40, which is why the new stop position will be 14.948 feet, to give you 40 exactly. I'll hit wind. So the machine will wind at the set speed until it reaches a predefined step-down distance from the end point, and you'll see it slow down as you get close. And that stop point, or that creep point we call it, is a settable number. And it's a pretty accurate stop. Should be within 0.06%. Okay, so we came to the second stop, and we go through the same procedure. Clamp, cut the fiber, put a new spool on. You press next stop, which is number 3 at 75 feet. Press new take-up again, because you have a new spool you'd put on the take-up side. That resets your take-up length, and all along we're keeping track of how much we've paid out. So remember, we're going to 75 feet, so we've got 40 already paid out. 75 is approximately that number, so that'll be our next length that we add on to the new spool. So we'll wind, and we'll just watch that. You know, we'll watch the spool actually turn, and you'll see it slow down when we hit that creep position. We're at 30 feet right now, coming up to 34, and there you see it slow down. 33.5 feet. Like watching water boil. Okay. So it comes to a nice stop. You're there. Okay, again the same thing. We'll clamp the fiber, cut it, put a new spool on, go to the next stop, which here is 150 feet from the start of the payoff. New take-up. Okay, so this situation will be a little different. Here we know our target length is 50. The payout had already gone 75 feet total. We're going all the way to 150 now, which is 80 feet. So the 50-foot goal fits within that. So we will stop at 50 instead of going all the way to the 80 feet. So I'll press wind. By the way, anytime we want, we can go into our recipe settings if they're unlocked. If we want to speed up, we can speed up on the fly. We don't have to stop anything. Now we're running faster. I'm going to close that. And we're stepping down in speed. By the way, you can see the result over here on the take-up. You get a very nice wind. It's just about perfect. There, it stopped. Okay, so here we made a full spool. We reached our 50-foot goal. And now the spool done lights up for you. And in this case, we would again, cut our fiber or our wire, whatever it might be, put a new take-up on, and go through the same procedure. Now remember, we went 50 feet already. We're going only, the next stop was 150 feet away, so that is why the new stop position is only 25 feet from where we are now, because right now the payout has gone 125. We're adding another 25 or so to get to 150. So that's how we wind. And again, we're at a higher speed now. I put that higher speed in. The speed will go up to about 400 RPM. Okay, so that's the basic operation for running a recipe. I hadn't gone through the system settings screen, that is here. And again, this is password protected. I'll unlock it. This is a different password than the others. I'll pause for the moment in case this needs to be kept secret. Okay, here's our system settings screen, and this is where we put in some global parameters for the operation of the machine. The first thing you can do is change the units from English to metric with that checkbox right there. The tension gain area is where we set up the gains for the tension control. And that's an area where you definitely want to keep locked out. Usually it should not need any changing, but it's there in case it is. Just looking at the top section still, I talked about the creep position for as you approach your target length, and there are actually two step downs. One is just a slowdown from whatever your top speed might be, and here you enter the distance away from your target length that it sets, that it kicks in, and what that speed will be. And then there's an additional step down which we call our creep speed, and in this case we're saying when you're half of a meter away from your target length, slow down to 2 meters per minute. Okay. This line here is for entering commands directly into our controller, which should probably only be done under our direction, but that makes it convenient to have that there for troubleshooting the machine. Other variables here are the jog speed for the left and right spools. That's the rotational jog speed. Here's our homing speed when we home the traverses. Here is the flange reference adjustment amount that I pointed out underneath the home buttons, which tweaks the home position each time you press that button. And then here are our left and right traverse limit amounts, where we can put in soft limits for how far the traverses will go. Here are the jog speed settings for the traverses. And then there's also that bump type jog I described. Here is that bump amount, and that's adjustable to whatever you want it to be. And also how quickly it moves when it makes that bump. Alrighty. Once any changes are made in here, you would burn them to the system with the Burn Variables button. All right, so that is the DigiSpooler 2.